An exclusive chat for Will Anderson on draft night, why he always wanted to be a Texan, if Alabama psychos prepare him for the craziness that comes with the NFL, Chick-fil-A, and a lot more. Plus, D'Amico Ryans continues to love up on him. Let's go inside the locker room.
It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room.
In entire Houston Texans history, I've never heard a rookie as highly regarded immediately as Will Anderson is by this Houston Texans organization. I don't even think it's close. Will Anderson appears to be the guy that they like the most heading into the draft, and it's really clear. Not only did they like him then, when they talk about players, they being the coaching staff, it's very clear that they like him even more now than they did before they got to work with him. And it's hard not to. Got to spend some time with Will Anderson earlier in training camp, and I got to say, I was pretty impressed my damn self. I'm on record saying I think Will Anderson's going to be, after this season, one of the 10 best players in the AFC South. There's not a lot of edge talent here. 9.5 sacks, led the division last year, and the way that they're going to use him, it's basically going to be see ball, get ball. They're going to line him up wide and all that. And I think D'Amico's going to get a lot out of Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson is going to reward the faith that this organization and that this staff has had in him. Before we get into Will Anderson and what Will Anderson's expectations are and some of the conversation, let's hear from D'Amico Ryans. This is true love. This is the head coach of the Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans, loving up on Will Anderson here in the locker room.
For us, Will, what he's done well, it's this relentless mindset of how he attacks each day. He comes out with a relentless motor. He plays with a physical mindset every play, and everybody around, they can just look at Will and see how we need to practice, right? What does it look like if you want to be a great player? You have to work that way. So it all starts with the work ethic, and he's there, right? That's what we want. He exemplifies exactly what I want in that type of player. And playing the end position, now the difference is now we'll play primarily with our hand in the dirt, different from when he stood up in college. The main difference is just he's going to be attacking, right? We don't want him coming off, reading, playing slow. The main thing we want him to do is play as fast as possible so he can go make plays for us. We're not going to slow him down.
What are his capabilities on the inside?
We'll get to that. When we get to that, if he plays inside him, that's not a given that he'll be there. So that's more game plan stuff that we'll work later in the season.
That's Brooks Gabina trying to get that extra information out of D'Amico Ryans. And you can feel the love. You can tell and you can see how much D'Amico Ryans loves Will Anderson. I actually got to speak to him exclusively on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. Download the Odyssey app. Check that out. You can hear that whole interview. Actually put the interview in the comments if you want to go check that out. Myself, John Lopez, we spoke to him. And I got to tell you, he is a very, very, very impressive young man. And we asked Will Anderson because we all remember draft day. We thought the Texans had the number 2 and 12 pick. As soon as C.J. Stroud was picked, just imagine being Will Anderson, who wanted to be in Houston, seeing all that unravel and that building up to the Texans trading up and drafting him. This was Will Anderson talking about that experience when he was on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app.
We're at the draft party. They announced CJ Stroud. Everyone's going crazy. You try to gather yourself. You try to figure stuff out. And then next thing you know, there's a pop and you're up. Did you have an idea that you were going to be here? What was that like?
Absolutely not. So, I'm holding both phones and, everybody on TV can see it, but I can't because in the back room, it's just the Cardinals are up. And I was like, well, I haven't got a phone call, so they're probably not going to pick me. So I was shaking. And then it's still saying Cardinals, but Houston was calling me. And I was like, oh, they probably just calling me to tell me, hey, man, sorry we couldn't get you in the draft. But, we think you did that. But he had called and said, we'll take you with the 3rd overall pick. And I just went crazy because, really in my heart, I really wanted to be here. They were my first like top 30 visit. I was there first, and like I just feel like it was a click as soon as I came here, like with everybody. So I was like, Lord, whatever you got to do, just please like put me here. So just that whole night was crazy and unexpected.
So you actually had to be a little bit disappointed then when CJ was picked, like in an indirect way, because if you wanted to be here, they announced CJ's name. You got to be like, dang, now what?
Well, my agent did a really good job. Like she told me like they're going quarterback. Like
She's had a good offseason, by the
Yeah,
way. You talk about good offseason. She's
Yes.
done very well for herself.
yeah, so she does a really good job. Like, hey, look, they're taking quarterback. You're good. Like we're fine. Like don't worry. Whatever's next is going to happen next. So I was like, okay, I got my mind right. Clapped CJ on it. A few minutes later, we're teammates, so it was fun.
All right. So why would Will Anderson want to be in Houston? That's a question, because leading up to the draft, there was talk, nobody wants to be in Houston and DeMeco Ryans shouldn't take the Houston gig. This is not the first guy that we've heard say that he wanted to be in Houston. So Will Anderson, when he was on In the Loop Sports Radio 610, he answered that question. Why exactly did you want to be here, man?
Well, just the people that they had in the building, that's one thing I'm really big on is relationships. And when you come in a place and feel the genuine, like everybody has been the exact same since I got here. Since I've met with them the first time till I got here, and nobody's changed. Coaches have kept it real with me, and I appreciate that. Players have kept it real. Everybody's been the same, and that's one thing that I really big on. And then just the defense, just going back to my roots, because I wanted to play in a system that was defensive end.
Sure.
I didn't want to play linebacker. I didn't want to play outside linebacker. I didn't want to do any of that. So just the people in the system was like spot on for me.
The other thing I think that's probably exciting for a lot of these kids, like you'd love to go to an established squad, but if you think that the organization's heading in the right direction, and a lot of people trust in DeMeco Ryans, it's kind of cool to start your own thing. It's kind of cool to be one of the foundational pieces and start your own thing. And Will Anderson, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, even some of the veterans, they seem excited for that opportunity. I got a lot of love for Alabama fans. Now, maybe my interaction with Alabama fans was before they got and had too much success, but I remember tailgating with Alabama fans in 2009 at the national championship, Nick Saban's first national championship, and they're real classy. They're real accommodating. We've, however, seen some crazy sides of Alabama fans, and if you're on message boards, you can hear about Alabama fans, and Nick Saban has talked about unrealistic expectations from Alabama fans to the point where sometimes even when you win ball games, everybody sucks and everybody wants you fired. Here's Will Anderson on if that actually helps you prepare for all the attention, all the notoriety, and everything that comes with being an NFL player.
Does playing at a program where the fans are so crazy, and you don't have to call them crazy, but so passionate, and it's basically like pro football, does that help prepare you for the NFL and all the extra attention? It has to.
Yes, 100% it does. Alabama fans are very passionate about football. Like they take it serious like this. Some is another job for them. So, but it's exciting just to see the passion that comes from the stands and all the fans that, how much they love you. It just pours a lot of energy to us on the field.
I always thought it was interesting because I've heard Saban talk about it, where it's got to be kind of weird for you to prepare, for a week to win a game, and then you win a game. And when you've set that kind of standard, it's like, man, this team sucks, fire Nick Saban and all that. It's that's got to be a little bit crazy. CJ dealt with it too.
Yeah, most definitely. It's all about everybody wants to put the expectations on you of what you should be and what the team should be and everything. But at the end of the day, you got to know like what your team expectation is, how we go out on the field and perform, and just matter what's going on in the building.
I couldn't imagine. Just couldn't imagine it. You lose one game a year and the sky is falling. And he was there during the Georgia rise. So I can only imagine how wild stuff was at Alabama. Subscribe, like, ride along. We are all in this together. It is the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans daily digital content. How do you think Will Anderson will do his rookie year? Put that in the comments. Speaking of goals, though, unrealistic or not, Will Anderson, we heard CJ Stroud. We were at training camp, and we heard CJ Stroud say he's kind of written some goals down. I asked Will Anderson about his goals. He kind of went into a little coaching speak. I'll let you hear for yourself.
CJ talked about writing down goals. Do you have any specific goals this year?
Yeah, for me, I kind of keep my personal goals to myself.
Yeah.
But as far as just a goal that is really not personal, it's really just building that team chemistry. and I know the NFL is a little different, but I think no matter like all good teams have team chemistry, and that's one of the biggest goals that Coach D'Amico did a really good job of like switching the locker room around where all the guys like you just be straight position, but all the guys like offense and defensive came together, and we all like sit like differently now.
Yeah.
So I think that's been really beneficial. So one thing for me is just try to talk to everybody, try to notice something about this person, why this person does that, like just like what's his reason why, and that's one of my biggest goals, just connecting with those guys. So when we get on the field, I know his reason why, I know why he's doing this, and not just because of the check, but something more.
You can tell there's a couple of things that have kind of been instilled on these players. It's swarming, the typical coaches stuff, and the why. I feel like this coaching staff has done a really good job of at least either they're actually doing it or they at least want the players to spread that message. But from talking to Dalton Schultz, he said it. From talking to Dameon Pierce, he said it. The why is very important because it's one thing to tell players you're supposed to do this, but when you explain why, I feel like they buy into it. And Will Anderson, I know I joked around and said, coaches speak, but he went in depth. And I truly think that is kind of one of the things that this coaching staff has really tried to emphasize is we're not just going to tell you what, we're going to tell you why. And we're going to explain to you. And Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, Matt Burke, we got to talk to Matt Burke early on in camp. They both kind of emphasize that, the why is important and coaches are going to make mistakes too. So there seems to be some open dialogue. I had to ask Will Anderson, y'all know me. I had to ask him about the diet, especially when you're his age, when 21, 22 years old, that metabolism's going crazy. Now, he's eating healthy now, but he does have a fascination for some of the fine establishments that the South has to offer, such as Waffle House and Chick-fil-A. So I asked him about his Chick-fil-A order. Here's what Will Anderson had to say.
What do you get at Chick-fil-A? Let me guess. You probably get at least you're probably a sandwich and nugget guy. You probably get a sandwich and then you put nuggets on the side. Did I guess that?
You almost did. That was high school. Like, in college, it became 2 sandwiches.
Okay.
So I ain't gonna lie. I don't eat like
pickles
this no
or
more.
not. Pickles or not.
Pickles.
Okay.
I don't eat like this no more. But it used to be 2 sandwiches, a large fry,
Yeah.
4-count nugget, and a vanilla milkshake.
There you go. Baby. There you go. Barbecue sauce?
No,
Chick-fil-A sauce?
Chick-fil-A sauce.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A sauce.
Man, he said 4-count. I don't know if the 4-count nugget, I think he might be going strips. I think my man might be getting 2 sandwiches and 4 strips. More power to him. Can't say I haven't done that before my damn self. Subscribe, like, ride along. Will Anderson, they got big hopes for him. I hope you got to know him a little bit better. Check out the full interview in the comments. Let me know what you think. Follow along. We're getting close to the season. It's been fun getting to know these players a little bit more, and it's been fun having good vibes. The channel's growing. We started at the beginning of last year, and it's only growing. And I really appreciate everyone for coming through, and I appreciate you for riding along. When it comes to this Texans stuff, just always remember, no matter what happens, whether Will Anderson has 1 sack or 20 sacks, when it comes to this Texans stuff, we're all in this together. Appreciate you for coming through.
You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the